if these two were to match up tomorrow on a neutral site, or if Oregon was to play Washington at home, I think they go up by 3 scores. Oregon should be ranked higher than Washington. College football committee came out and said that they're number 6 and Washington's number 5, and they're still getting disrespected. I know they took a loss to Washington, but on a coaching blunder, man. On a coaching blunder, can we really hold that against them? I'm going to back up my statement here because I pulled out some very interesting information in my research to back this up.
Okay.
So, I don't want to get into Heisman odds yet, but here's my backup information. Points for and points against. This has got to account for something, right? How many times have they been beating the dog crap out of teams? Points for, total 364 to this point, to Washington's 323. Oregon averages 45.5 points against every team that they play. Washington averages 40.3. Points against. Oregon doesn't get scored on as often as Washington either. 125 total points to Washington's 165. They only allow 15.6 yards or 15.6 points to be scored against them. Washington allows around 3 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns and a field goal. So that's what I'm saying so far is when Oregon is put against the test, they always come out on top. Are we just not going to account for the fact? And I don't know how the committee factors this in. But when Colorado had the hype, right? Earlier this season, they could have lost that game based off of the pressure that was put on them. Has Washington played a team outside of Oregon that has put the pressure on them or had that much pressure on them? They did play Oregon at home, and I understand Oregon played Colorado at home as well. But the aura around Colorado and them actually being ranked and actually having the odds against them, they beat the dog piss out of Colorado. Does that not account for something?
It should.
Do you think
you're gonna look at them that way? Yeah.
But hold on, let me ask a question. Does Washington, if Colorado played Washington at home that early, do you think they struggle more against Colorado than Oregon did? Honest question.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Plus,
I think it's a closer game.
I mean, Stanford pressed them after the Oregon game.
Arizona pressed them too.
I take more. Yeah, I take more away from both of those than them beating Oregon. Right, to be honest, right now. I mean, you just put the stats up. You can ask anybody in the country, unless you're a dummy, 5-star dummy. Everybody knows Oregon's better.
Yeah,
everybody knows.
Oregon is way better.
Everybody knows Texas is better than Oklahoma too. I mean, these are just things we know.
Yeah. I mean, again, how I felt about Oklahoma is like you take Dylan Gabriel away and that team is not what they are.
Yeah.
I think if you take Dylan Gabriel away and Quinn Ewers away, take Malik Murphy away too. Let's put Arch Manning in there. I still think Texas overall beats, with the weapons that they have, beats Oklahoma.
Definitely.
That's just my outlook. Like, I'm trying to consider all factors, right? Because everybody likes to put stats, everybody likes to put firepower, everybody likes to put coaching, but let's measure all of it. If you take players away, what would they look like? Because this is a realistic thing that could happen. People get hurt, people get busted up, and then we're sitting there pointing the finger on who's the better team. But if we strip away every single layer of the onion, who's got the best team when it really comes down to it? I think even if you take Michael Penix Jr. away and Bo Nix away, I still think that Oregon is the better team all the way around.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What running game do they have? They ran the ball better on Oregon than a lot of other teams, though.
Which was surprising, I know. But they don't, I mean, they haven't, for the rest of the year, haven't had an amazing running game.
I get it though. I get the one thing that's bringing Oregon down is that they actually lost against Washington. How can you justify putting Oregon ahead of Washington at this point? I think that's just seniority at this point. But realistically, if these two were to match up tomorrow on a neutral site, or if Oregon was to play Washington at home, I think they go up by 3 scores. Originally.
Yeah.
I think playing at Oregon is a lot harder than playing in Washington.
Oh yeah. Now and keep in mind that game at Washington, that was the biggest game
that they ever had, right?
I possibly ever had. So, and they barely pulled it out by a mistake by Oregon. So that's to be noted too. And Oregon is not an easy place to play. Oregon would beat them by 20 points in Oregon.
Yeah,
probably. I give them 17.
I agree. Well, Oregon should be ranked higher than Washington. Just is what it is. I think so. Now that the committee's in place, you got to put these scenarios in place too. And I mean, most likely it's going to play itself out. We've already talked about it backstage, like, about the Alabama and Oregon thing, who would be in the college football playoff. But the cool thing about this is probably Oregon and Washington are going to play each other, because Oregon State just got beat by Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to that boy Fafita, though. I thought Jayden de Laura has had a good year.
Yeah.
And I still think that they still would give problems to teams with Jayden de Laura. But Fafita has stepped in. I think he's a true freshman.
I don't know. I didn't watch much of him, I'll be honest.
Didn't I tell you, Fishing, that they was going to be good this year? I told you they was going to be above six
They
wins.
are good. I forget who they got to play to, but they could end up with 8 wins, I think. Depending on what
Washington and Oregon clear USC. I think they clear Oregon State at this point. Washington State, they've already showed their true colors. I think Cam Ward has been figured out. It just is what it is.
I know.
He's not the caliber quarterback that we thought he was. That flame fizzled out real quick.
It did.
UCLA is scary because they have really good coaching and a really good defense. Who else am I missing that's making some noise? Colorado, we don't even have to worry about them no more.
Yeah, I mean, Cal, Colorado, they're out. I mean, everybody.
Cal and Stanford can sit there and upset you, though. They've already showed that they could.
They can't. This was the takeaway I had. What 2-3 weeks ago? It was everybody's going to beat everybody up in the Pac-12, and we're just going to sit here and hope that Oregon can pull it out, because personally, we want a Pac-12 team to make the playoff. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, even if Washington beats Oregon again, I'm cool with that too. I think Oregon's better, but it just happens in the Pac-12 every year. Everybody beats each other. You got 2 losses, and you got 1 loss conference championships or conference champions everywhere across the country, and you can't put a Pac-12 team in. So,
hey, I mean, my dream of like Oregon State still making the Pac-12 championship is still a thing. Yeah. Washington's schedule is USC next.
Oh, it's bad. It's hard.
Oh, they got a hard schedule.
Yeah, and Oregon
USC,
doesn't.
Utah, Oregon State, and Washington. And the way the way that Oregon had their schedule set up, they was playing. I mean, Texas Tech has got to account for something, bro. And people act like Texas Tech was going to be a pushover. Remember, people were saying that Texas Tech was going to upset Oregon this year. Josh Pate.
Yep, he did say that.
Colorado. They beat Stanford, who beat USC. They lost against Washington by 3 points. They beat Washington State. They beat Utah.
I think they have Cal, UCLA.
No, they have Cal, USC, Arizona State, and Oregon State. I mean, that's still the way that Oregon State and Cal and Oregon State play is still.
I love USC the Pac-12. And Oregon. Enjoy it this year. It's over next year. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Man, it's gonna be a good
great this year.
It is. So many ups and downs, and I love the upsets that have happened already. Yeah.